So you might notice that there's a little bit of a continuity change here. Cat's out of the bag. It has indeed been multiple years since I started on this project and left it unfinished. Unfortunately, stimulants do not work on my ADHD, so I do apologize. This is just kind of how things go. Anytime you see something, a take or an opinion or anything in this video that is directly contradicted by what is true now, just know that I was yapping from the POV of somebody in December or November of 2022 when the game was still in its infancy and we didn't have the complete picture that we have now. I hope this is enough of a disclaimer. I don't know if I'm going to put this at the beginning of the video or just leave it in chronological order of when it was made. If this is at the beginning of the video, buckle up, you're gonna see some outdated things. And if it is in chronological order, let's continue on this journey. And I think the feds are outside. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm not in uniform. That's better. Hi. Before I start this, I just want to say, I know that I'm a grown adult talking very seriously about a game intended for children. And I know it shouldn't be that deep. But Splatoon 2 was a very big deal in my life during college. From October of 2017 all the way up until 2020, I was fully invested in that game. The lore, I was in it. The gameplay, I was living. The characters, oh, I was standing. I even cosplayed Pearl, the last convention I went to in 2019. So just know, this little bitch means everything to me, okay? Do not fuck with us big forehead girls. I got the bangs, but underneath, big ass forehead, all right? We stand together.
Now, I'm only speaking for myself here, but I don't personally invest 1,700 hours into a game unless I genuinely like it and care about it. Shout out to the Dead by Daylight community.
So imagine my reaction on that fateful day in 2021, sitting on Discord with my two dear friends watching the Nintendo Direct and hearing that Splatoon 3 was indeed coming out in 2022.
To be honest, by 2021, I started to feel pretty jaded towards Nintendo. They were on a roll in 2017, yet that seemed to completely change in the years following. Side note, this has nothing to do with the pandemic. I think we're all painfully aware of how the pandemic impacted the video game industry and every other industry. What became a little too obvious in the Switch era was Nintendo's realization that they could cut corners and still make the exact same profit. They could put minimal effort in and their games would still sell the same amount. Very well. The worst thing that would happen would be people like me bitching into the void of the internet about it. They know that kids will be on board regardless and their super fans will defend them to the ends of the earth, so who really cares? Why pay teams for a longer period of time to create an actual quality game when they can take shortcuts and still do the exact same sales numbers as they would otherwise? Unfortunately, no game seems safe from this new Nintendo philosophy of publishing unfinished, undercooked, hollow shells of games, selling them for $60 and then adding features months later via update. If I could go back in time and warn my past self not to get so excited about New Horizons, I would. If I could get my money back for Switch Sports, I would. And I thank my lucky stars that I never personally bought a copy of Mario Tennis Aces or Super Mario Party. But we're not here to talk about those husks. We're here to talk about Splatoon 3. One of the things I loved about Splatoon 2 was how full the game felt, even from day one. For the first few months of the game being out, we had 4 different modes of online battles, a brand new game type called Salmon Run, and an admittedly bland story mode to keep us busy. Not to mention a decent amount of stages and tons of fresh gear. I'd say it was the right amount of content for the base game to have. A few months later came 2.0, which brought the controversial new ranked mode, Clam Blitz, new music, New stages, new hairstyles, and new gear to collect. The content continued in the form of monthly Splatfests and minor gear updates here and there until spring of 2018 when Mr. Nogami dropped this fucking booyah bomb on our heads. The Octo expansion. A paid DLC that would actually give us a good story mode and finally let us play as Octolings.
That's history right there, you understand?
When I say Splatoon 2 felt full, I mean that almost everything it needed in the game was already there on launch day. Everything they added afterwards felt like bonus content that enhanced what was already there, which is how things should be. On launch day, a lot of people criticized the game for just being Splatoon 1.5, but nobody was making that argument after Octo Expansion dropped. Everyone agreed that it was exactly what story mode should have been all along. Genuinely challenging, visually pleasing, a fun story, a banger soundtrack, and a final boss that actually had stakes. Also, shout out to Inner Agent 3 for single-handedly ruining the lives of so many players for that first week. If you know, you know, that bitch was brutal. But Octo Expansion was definitely worth the money, unlike some other paid DLCs out there. So, enough of my rambling about Splatoon 2. I'm sure you're all wondering what my point is here.
You know what? I'm about to say it. Say it. I don't
think Splatoon 3 is better than Splatoon 2.
You what?
Before I elaborate on why I think that, I want to say that I don't dislike Splatoon 3 at all. There are plenty of things I love about it, actually. I love Salmon Run Next Wave. The new bosses are pretty cool. All except for you, Fish Stick, you little...
I hate him! I hate him! I feel like I'm never gonna be happy again!
Customizing your slop suit is a welcome change, and it's cool that you can spend your scales on other things, but let's be honest, we're all saving up for the different color suits. Being able to throw eggs is actually a godsend, and while it is irritating just how much ink gets consumed by throwing eggs, it's still a massive game changer. And I really enjoy King Salmonid waves. They provide a reason for me to keep playing Salmon Run after I've earned my bonuses. Not gonna lie, back in the Splatoon 2 Salmon Run days, I almost never played past the point where I had earned my bonuses. It just felt pointless. I do think it's a bit ridiculous how grindy it is to gather Kohozuna scales, but that's less of a Salmon Run grind issue and more of an overall issue throughout the whole game. But we'll get to that later. So while I was in the middle of putting this video together, the first Big Run event happened, and this is me taking the time to include it. As of the time I'm making this video, Big Run has only happened once, so I'm sure this section is going to age like milk, but I can't ignore the event. The first Big Run was a bit of a mixed bag for me, and I don't think I'm alone in feeling that way. The players seem to unanimously love random weapon rotations in normal Salmon Run, so I'm sure we all enjoyed having that be a part of Big Run. I don't think it would have been a fun event if it weren't, actually. In my opinion, gameplay is far less repetitive and predictable with random weapons every wave. The map for the first Big Run was Wahoo World, aka the most beloved map in Splatoon 3.
Then I go.
What a shame the Salmonids didn't just keep Wahoo World like we were all hoping for. Little buddy, please free us from the tyranny of Wahoo World. If the map was taken out of PvP mode rotations and just left as a Salmon Run map only, I think we'd all be much happier. My biggest gripe with Big Run was the rewards. Splatfests make sure they give you valuable currency as a reward for participation. Super Sea Snails have not one, but two functions that reduce the grind in Splatoon 3, and I think we all wish we could get 24 of them at the end of every Splatfest. But when we're suffering through Tricolor battles, we always know that it's worthwhile to make it to Monarch for those sweet, sweet snails. Big Run's problem is that the reward for participation is not worth your while. They do double up your initial rewards, but they don't refresh at all within the 3-day event. So you're essentially just getting double the regular rewards for the first day and not much after that. When Big Run is finally over, you're awarded with a Kohazuna locker decoration.
Ew.
Nintendo, what the fuck? We don't want locker decorations as our grand prize. We want gold and silver scales. You make them so hard to come by anyway, even if you are consistently killing king salmonids. How many of us have bested a king salmonid and then only received like 7 bronze scales as a reward? Yeah, no thanks. Take a page out of Splatfests book and reward players with rare currency. Like, what is not clicking here? I'm choosing to be optimistic about this particular issue. The players complained enough about Tricolor battles that Nintendo actually made adjustments to them, so maybe they'll listen to us when we complain about the lack of good rewards for Big Run.
Hey, I doubt it!
Maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. Dear 2022 self, here's what we got since you just said all that. We got extra work, we got reduced grind for scales, 2 more king salmonids, and the chance to fight all 3 kings at once. Oh, also, the official Splatoon Japan account tweeted that Megalodontia's name was Joe by accident, and the community has refused to move on from it ever since. And we never should. That's Joe. Now let's talk about how much the single-player campaign has improved since last time around. Agent 3 is dripped the fuck out. No more ugly ski boots.
What are those?
After 3 whole games, Splatoon finally has a single-player campaign that feels like a proper experience, rather than just a glorified tutorial mode. You can tell story mode was really well thought out this time around. At first, I thought it was going to be more of the same old help Captain Cuttlefish, gather the Zapfish, and blah blah blah. What a pleasant surprise that the story mode subverted our expectations and had Grizz be the villain this time around. A lot of players were hoping for this, myself included, after Splatoon 2 left Grizz's identity such a mystery. It seems like the developers tried to fuse the OG single-player format and the Octo expansion version, and they totally nailed it. Little Buddy was an unstoppable force to be reckoned with. It was fun being able to explore the overworld in a non-linear order. The levels weren't too easy or too hard, and it was cool fighting the members of Deep Cut as bosses, although Big Man was admittedly underwhelming. I don't think I took a single hit during his fight. I thoroughly enjoyed the area leading up to the final boss. It very much reminded me of the home stretch of Octo expansion, and that's a good thing in my book. I'm crossing my fingers that we'll get more spider squid stages with the Zipcaster in the upcoming DLC story. The final fight against Mr. Grizz was hilarious, and I loved every second of it. The battle was a little easy compared to Inner Agent 3, but that's to be expected for the base game story. Maybe in the future DLC we'll get our asses whooped again, but that remains to be seen. And finally, the DJ Octavia redemption arc we've been waiting for. Let him be in the next game's idol group, you cowards! Moving on to some of the other things I'm liking about Splatoon 3 so far. The addition of training areas to use while you wait for your matches to start is awesome. I would have been happy if they had just put this in the regular online multiplayer lobby, but they were kind enough to actually make one for Salmon Run too. Even though I mostly use these areas to dance around with friendly randoms or just fuck around with my friends when we play together, it's a very welcome addition to the game in my opinion. Particularly in Salmon Run, as it gives you an opportunity to practice with a weapon that you're not really good at, that you're stuck with in that rotation, and now that players are able to throw eggs, it gives you a chance to practice with that before starting a shift. This feature is 100% superior to the lobby screens of Splatoon's past. So really quick, I want to address the new Squid Roll and Squid Surge. I'll be honest, I'm not really that into the meta of the game. I've always been happy to be an S+ casual because getting to X rank, it just requires trying much harder than I care to in video games in general. But that being said, I am aware of how important squid rolling has become to the competitive community, so that's great. I just don't really have any experience with it, and honestly, I almost never remember to use it. Squid Surge, on the other hand, is pretty clutch for 1v1s and anarchy battles though. Splatsville is stunning. We can all agree that it is huge for seemingly no reason, but I like being able to run around and explore so much. Merch went through puberty, and his new design makes me not want to bully him anymore, so character development. I miss Krusty Sean's food truck though, I'm sorry, but staff over here had some big shoes to fill, and they really didn't. Why couldn't Krusty Sean just work in the concession stand, Nintendo? What do you have against him? Y'all better be supporting him on Wandercrust. Now let's talk about all the new customization options they added to Splatoon 3. Splash tags. I have mixed feelings about these. As I mentioned earlier, Splatoon 3 most definitely has a grind problem. Can you call it a problem though if it's intentional? I don't know. Yeah, I guess you can. Unlike Splatoon 2, this game really wants to pad out the content unlocking experience. Perhaps to try to hide the lack of content? Splash tags can be customized in 3 ways: banners, titles, and badges. Badges are seemingly the forgotten one of the bunch. Nobody really seems to care that much about badges. I personally don't. If I get a badge, I sleep. Banners are the one that feels the most frustrating to collect. You can collect them from leveling up your catalog once per season. I think they're actually set banners though, so, you know, the same shit that everybody else has. But the main way to acquire banners is through the shell out machine. This man ate my son. There is a 6% chance that using the shell out machine will net you a banner. That might not sound that bad, but I'm not kidding when I tell you I legitimately went from September until late November without getting one single banner from that shell out machine. Not one for almost 3 months. I don't think this would bother me at all if there were a shop like Hotlantis where I had the option of buying banners, but instead, players are forced to wait an unknown amount of time and just hope that they might get a banner that they actually like. And let me clarify that I'm not expecting instant gratification, being able to buy every single option in the game right away. That's not what I'm saying. It's just counterintuitive and stupid if the emphasis was supposed to be on customization and individuality. It's like almost every player has one of the same handful of banners. By relegating banners to a gacha machine, you're taking away the choice and leaving us stuck with crap we don't even want. Like, look at this. Gross. The funny part is that the Salmon Run rewards counter already has banners for sale. Nintendo, you are halfway there already. Just throw a couple banners into Harmony's shop, please. It reminds me a lot of trying to find different furniture variants you wanted in New Horizons before the Happy Home Paradise DLC. Except at least with New Horizons, you had the option of going on Nookazon and finding them through other players. There is no remedy for the unnecessary waiting in Splatoon 3 right now. In comparison, titles are a far more common reward from the machine with a 22% chance of being your prize. They're quirky, I guess. I don't really have much to say about them. Thus far, the shell-out machine feels like a waste of time and money. Pretty much 9 times out of 10, my reward for playing is a meal ticket or ugly locker decorations that I didn't want. The addition of lockers is pretty cool, but ultimately feels like a way to pad out content in the game. I feel like there's way more stuff to put in your locker than there is to wear, and ultimately the locker serves no purpose other than just a distraction, whereas gear you can actually use in gameplay. Let's discuss the maps. I'm certainly not the first person to say this, and I won't be the last, but the map design in Splatoon 3 was, well, we'll call it a downgrade. Not all of the maps feel like cramped hallways, but the majority of them do. The returning maps from Splatoon 1 have mostly been downsized. Some are still pretty great, like Flounder Heights, and then you have the others, like Mahi Mahi Resort, which is definitely one of the maps of all time. As a Splatoon 2 enjoyer, I was glad to see some of the maps from that game return, as I think they were overall much more dynamic in design. A good Splatoon map needs multiple alternate routes. I don't want to be forced down a narrow corridor like Hammerhead Bridge or Undertow Spillway. Let me get creative with how I approach the battlefield. Let me have the option of stealth or a head-on approach. I'm not a game designer, so I really don't know how to articulate this properly, but please let them have a different vision in mind when they're designing the maps for Splatoon 4. Oh, and for the love of all things good, leave Wahoo World behind. We do not want Wahoo World back. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The state of the Splatfest. First of all, where the fuck are shifty stations? If Turf War is the only PvP mode available for an entire weekend, it can get stale pretty quickly. Shifty stations in Splatoon 2 Splatfest really helped break up the monotony because they added a fresh new stage into the mix that nobody had seen before, keeping things not 100% predictable by adding a temporary new map every month was really a great thing. Nowadays, we just play Splatfest on the regular stages with zero added pizzazz. Disappointing, especially since we know the team working on Splatoon is capable of so much more. And I'm not saying their work is bad by any means, but cutting out shifty stations is a real bummer. Tricolor battles. Now that girl is controversial. I actually don't feel the passionate hatred for tricolor battles that so many other players seem to. This is probably because I've only had the chance to play like 7 or 8 of them ever, but from what I know so far, they have a very interesting dynamic. I think the map you play during tricolor battles has a large influence on how much you're gonna suffer. Honestly, I think it would be way smarter if tricolor battles took place exclusively on shifty station maps. That way, nobody has the advantage of already knowing the stage layouts ahead of time and where to exploit them.
So, how's everybody feeling? It's been a little while. At the time of recording this, it is June 2025.
Needless to say that in the span of the past 3 years, a lot has changed in the game, including my experience with Splatfest. While having 3 different teams for Splatfest may have sounded like a good idea on paper, in execution it was probably not the right move. Mirror matches were absolutely inescapable for most players. Speaking from my own experience, I would get super excited when I got to play against an opposing Splatfest team because it happened so infrequently. Maybe it was the prompts for the Splatfests, or maybe it was just that third wheel option, but the player experience this time around wasn't the greatest. Circling back to tricolor battles, they did end up changing the way the teams are divided up, rather than the original setup when I recorded the beginning of this video, in which the team in the lead at Splatfest halftime would always play the role of defenders. The roles are now randomized between defenders and attackers for each match. This change was welcome, although it kind of took away from the significance of waiting until halftime to make tricolor turf playable. I mean, why wait to let us play tricolor battles at that point? It's certainly a choice. Hot take, I actually do enjoy tricolor battles in Splatoon. They're a rare breed of chaos that can be fun in short dosages. I much prefer playing as an attacker because it makes the stakes feel higher. Something about 2v4 turf war is magical. If you were really lucky, you'd end up being targeted non-stop by the other attacking team instead of working together with them. Playing the role of defending team was kinda boring to me, I'm not gonna lie. It just felt like a worse version of Splat Zones. I feel like Tricolor and Splatfest in general in Splatoon 3 was just kind of a swing and a miss. There was a lot that could have been done better, but I don't think it was a total disappointment. I ended up being fine with the decision to alternate between Big Run and Splatfest on a monthly basis. I do stand by what I said about shifty stations though. Where were they? And no, the 2 unique tricolor stages do not count. Those are not the same thing as a unique level for every single Splatfest. Much like its older sibling, Splatoon 3 received a single-player DLC a year or so after launch. There was a sense of mystique around Side Order before its launch. In comparison to those of the Octo expansion, the trailers for Side Order were much more vague and left a lot to the imagination. Nobody knew what to expect, besides the long-awaited return of Pearl Marina, who had been noticeably absent from the third game thus far. Personally, I was super hyped to see what Side Order had in store for us after how amazing the Octo expansion was. So, what exactly was Side Order all about? After boarding the train to Inkopolis Square, you wake up as your old friend, Agent 8, from the Octo expansion. Upon waking up, 8 is confused to find themselves in a strange, colorless, lifeless version of Inkopolis Square. As 8 gathers her thoughts, she's being yapped at by the legend herself, Pearl. Well, kind of Pearl. She's inexplicably a drone for the time being. Anyway, all she knows is that Marina is missing, and it's up to us to find her. When we enter the tower's elevator, we meet my fucking GOAT!
6-inch pumps.
I mean, we meet Oct, aka DJ Deadfish, the genius who was responsible for the music from the Octo expansion. Oct tells us that they're an old friend of Marina's who came to the tower to look for her, but got ambushed by creatures called gelatins along the way. Since we're all worried about our Queen Marina, the gang assembles to ascend each floor of the tower until we find her. This section is just an extended tutorial, so it does feel a bit slow, but still we press on. On the 10th floor, the gang finds Marina. She's hooked up to a contraption that seems to be mind controlling her. So we do what all friends do when their bestie is in danger. We aim our weapons at her and fire away. It's a tutorial boss, so it's pretty piss baby easy, but the soundtrack for this fight is an absolute banger. Possibly my favorite song in Side Order, but that's not what you guys came here to hear about, is it? After beating up our mind-controlled friend a bit, she's freed from the contraption, and we learn who the true antagonist of the story is. This little freak. I mean, Order itself. Marina explains that she created this place, the Memverse, as a virtual reality simulation to help restore the memories of sanitized Octolings from the Deep Sea Metro. Except Order decided to hijack the place and be a little bitch, so it's up to us to ascend to the 30th floor and kick his ass. Eventually, we do kick his ass with the power of friendship and music, and yeah, the plot isn't really the most compelling thing in the world, but at least we get some cute Pearl and Marina moments.
He said it! He said it! There it is! There it is!
The gameplay isn't the traditional Splatoon single-player style that we're used to, though. Side Order has a roguelite style gameplay loop. Each floor gives you 3 randomized choices for scenarios to play for different rewards. The rewards are called color chips, and they each offer different kinds of upgrades to your weapon or the Pearl drone. The color chips are the primary source of variation in this gameplay loop, but we'll get to that later. Your mission with each run up the spire is to choose a palette, aka a weapon kit, clear the 30 floors, and defeat the boss at the end. Boom, that's it, you're done. There are only 5 different mission scenarios that can pop up for a floor. Destroy the portals, splat zones, chase the fishies, sink the 8 balls, or guide the tower. Level difficulty ranges from easy to normal to hard to rigorous. Sometimes you'll be offered a bonus challenge, like not using your special, not jumping in Octoling form, or even playing the level without the Pearl drone. During your trek, you'll face 2 bosses before you reach the final boss. These are also randomized, but there are only a whopping 3 bosses that you could possibly face. A much easier version of the Girl Power Station from Octo expansion, a bouncy ball thingy, or this layered spinning monstrosity. None of them are particularly challenging or fun to fight. Maybe the idea was to make them easy so as not to frustrate players that have to fight them over and over again every single time. I don't expect anything that's on the level of Inner Agent 3, but these bosses were very boring and repetitive. Actually, if I had to describe Side Order in just one word, I think it would be repetitive. I understand that's the nature of a roguelite, but I've never played another game in that genre, and Side Order made me realize that it's not the game genre for me. If there were more variety in each run, that would probably make it a lot less repetitive, but the gameplay loop gets stale when you've seen everything there is to see after playing through the Spire just a couple of times. I mean, only 5 different types of levels? I know this team can do better than that. They've proven their abilities before. The only real way to shake up your run is to only go for specific types of color chips or to use Marina's hacks. Using the currency you get rewarded with for clearing the spire, you can pay Marina to hack the system with various buffs. These offer some shakeups, but the general gameplay loop doesn't really change that drastically. It pains me to say this, but Side Order was a huge letdown for me. I can appreciate what they were going for, but it just wasn't for me. When it comes to Splatoon 2, I strongly feel that DLC is a must-buy if you want to get the best experience from the game. Conversely, I don't think Side Order is a must-buy experience for Splatoon 3. It's cool that there's optional content to buy, but I don't think you'd be missing out on much if you skipped it. Which is a shame. Let's discuss Grand Fest.
You might be able to tell what team I was on.
The finale of Splatoon 3 took place in the summer of 2024. This event was genuinely a love letter to the fandom. If you're a Splatoon nerd, this event was designed specifically for you. The festival grounds were such a pleasant surprise. The elaborate map was full of cute Easter eggs, multiple stages to watch performances by all 3 idol groups, and it changed over the course of the weekend as time progressed, which made it feel actually alive. I spent an embarrassing amount of time just watching the performances in the lobby and appreciating all the effort the developers put into them. Do not get me started on the songs where all 7 of the idols performed together. Whew, grown adult getting emotional about the Squid video game alert. Sabrina Carpenter who? The Now or Never 7 outsold everyone last summer. I enjoyed every second of Grand Fest, even though there were too many mirror matches to count. What a fantastic send-off to the 3rd game in the series. The final Splatfests of previous games determined the direction of the follow-up games in one way or another. That begs the question of whether or not Team Past's victory will have a major impact on the story of Splatoon 4. I don't think Splatoon Raiders will be connected to the results of the Grand Fest, but hey, at this point, anything can happen. On that note, where do we go from here in general? The Splatoon series just celebrated its 10th anniversary. A whole decade has gone by. We're no longer kids now. We're simply squids now. Jokes aside, I think the future is bright for Splatoon. With the advent of the Switch 2, we have a spin-off game to look forward to, and of course, Splatoon 4, whenever it does come out. I sincerely hope the developers make some tweaks to the major downfalls of Splatoon 3 for the next game. Mostly the map designs and catalog system. Guys, I don't want to be drip-fed content. Save that for Switch Sports or whatever the fuck else you're cooking up. I'm a simple woman, after all. Just give me Splatoon 2 level of content drops and better map design, and I'm happy. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. This is the longest video I've ever made, and the longest a video has ever taken for me to complete. Haha. I appreciate you listening to me ramble about this silly little squid video game that I care so much about.
It's been quite a long time since I've done that, so I appreciate anybody who's here, still here from before, or watching new. I would tell you to subscribe, but honestly, I cannot promise consistency on the upload front, so I wouldn't blame you for not subscribing. Feel free to check out the older videos. A lot of them have been privated because they're too cringe, but some of them are still up. And yeah, that's about it. I am the channel formerly known as Your Gaming Source, and I will see you next time.